Hey guys, Paul from JCR Chassisworks here. Thought I'd take a minute and make a quick video showing you the tubular steering column kit for the 2004 to 2006 GTOs that we build. It is the factory length of the OEM column. The steering wheel would be in the same position. It is the average height of the tilt column. So when the tilt column would be adjusted in about the middle location, the steering wheel on this is in the same rough location. It bolts into the factory location on the top mount here by the instrument cluster, and then down here by the firewall, it bolts into the factory location down there also. It is chromoly construction, TIG welded in our fixture. It comes powder coated black. It comes with the strange SFI rated quick disconnect. You can get it in a 5-bolt or 6-bolt configuration, depending on what steering wheel you have. The main steering shaft is chromoly tubing also. We use a little bit thicker tubing on it than what we normally would use on, say, like a tube chassis car or another lightweight combination. Since these GTOs are typically fairly heavy, like I said, we use a little bit thicker tubing on that just to make it stronger. One thing we also do is we weld another piece of tubing to the inside to make it twice as thick. Also, on the U-joints, these are a chromoly heavy-duty U-joint. The U-joint is held on with these aircraft bolts. They are a high-strength bolt. As you can see, the bolt has a long shank on it and very little thread. And the purpose for that is that the shank part of the bolt goes through the part you're trying to hold, which in this case is the U-joint, that shaft, and then the threads are out here on the very end. That way the strongest part of the bolt, which is the shank, is inside that shaft and U-joint where the shear loads and forces are, and then the threads are out here on the end. We also use this aircraft lock nut. It's very lightweight, very strong. One thing you'll notice is that the steering column has this bell on the end, and that is because if you do not have this bell and your U-joint is out here on the end, it puts the U-joint at almost its limit, and that greatly increases the load on it and can cause problems with the steering shaft turning, with it binding up. So what we've done is we use this bell, and then the U-joint is up inside. I'm actually up against the shaft there, but the U-joint is up inside, and then it makes the shaft not as steep going down to the rack. And in my opinion, it's absolutely imperative that the steering column is done this way. That's why we do it. It takes extra work, extra time and fabrication materials, but again, that is the only way to do it, in my opinion. Our steering columns that we use for our front steer K-member, which is the K-member that we build that has the oil pan sump in the rear, or you can run a dragster style pan, which is more like a shoebox looking design. That K-member is open underneath the motor, but that is another video. We'll go over that someday. But the steering column for that K-member does not have the bell on it. It's just a straight tube. And that is because the steering shaft doesn't go almost straight down to the rack like the OEM does. That steering shaft comes out more, so we don't need that, and that saves a little bit money. So those steering columns for that application are a little cheaper. On the strange disconnect, let me get this off here. If you look at it, you can see the way it's machined that there is a tooth missing in it. And that is so that this is the upside. So when you assemble your steering wheel, the steering wheel can be clocked in different positions, but what you want to do is have this nub area straight up. That way when you put your steering wheel on, you will know that when this is straight up, that the steering wheel goes on straight up. And when you are taking the steering wheel off, if you straighten the wheel straight up before you pull it off, it'll be much easier to put on. And also the strange disconnect has this ring on it that you can turn with the arrow on it. And you can turn that to show which way is up. But if you just turn the steering wheel straight before you pull it off, it's much easier to get it lined up and put on. One feature of our column also is the outer shaft we cut a little short, which doesn't affect the strength at all. This is, again, thicker chromoly tubing. It's extremely strong. There's no deflection or movement in it. But what it does allow is, one, the steering column is a little lighter because this tube is shorter. And the other thing is, if you want to put a 3-inch extension in here on your steering wheel, this part of the disconnect would be down here, and there's still room for that. And that 3-inch spacer allows the steering column to be much shorter, so you can get in and get out of the car easier without bumping into the steering shaft when you're crawling over all that roll cage tubing and stuff. For the guys that have moved the seat back a little further than factory, you can put a 6-inch extension in here, or leave this the stock size and put a 3-inch. There's all kinds of combinations you can do. The only thing you would have to do is, if you're going to run the 3-inch, is when you put this, push that column down, push this inner shaft down, rather, you would just have to cut the other end of the shaft, cut the 3 inches off it, and the little reinforcing tube that's welded inside, you would have to weld that in. It's probably not mandatory for that to be in there if you can't do it. If you let us know that you're going to do it, we'll just build that shaft shorter and build that right into it. When it leaves here, you would be ready to go. The steering column, as shown, with the strange disconnect in either 5 or 6 bolt, powder coated, with the intermediate shaft that goes to the rack. Actually, the U-joint for the rack is not on it in this video. The complete ready-to-go kit is $650, and we can configure it in a few different ways. And like I say in the other videos, we do all of our own CAD drawings and cut files and cut all these parts in-house. And if we need some changes done, let us know, and we can probably make those modifications at no charge or very little charge. Anyway, this is the part. If you're interested, let us know, or have any questions, and have a blessed day.